We're going to move on then and talk about the manipulator. So looking at this, like we put the motor for the manipulator down here, and are there some blurred lines? Yes, there are. But I consider all of this really part of the chassis, and then what we're adding here today, starting today, will be the manipulator. So the arm. They call it the arm. I'll call it the manipulator as I build it. But we need two 288 millimeter channels. We're going to have 4 1/2-inch socket head cap screws, and then 4 of the shorter 5/16 socket head cap screws, and 8 keep nuts. Let's take a look at how all that will come together. So it looks like these pieces are put back there. Yep, right on the end there. So we're going to put 2 screws there, 2 screws there, there, and there. Put that all together. All right. I've got my Pushbot open. Hope you all have your Fusion and Pushbot open. Let's go to the Tetrix parts folder. I'm going to open up channels. And let's pull in a 288 millimeter channel. I'm going to orient it in the correct direction. Oh, 90, there's 90. Pull it up a little bit. There. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to create a new component. The new component is going to be Manipulator. Okay, my manipulator should now be the active component. I'm going to bring my channel into the manipulator. There we go. Open that up. Let us copy that channel and bring us. Oh, I want to move it. I want to make a copy of it. Control C. Control V. Copy and paste. There it is. There's my second one. Okay. Now I've got 2. Let us assemble them with a joint. Make sure it's a rigid joint. Yes, it is. I'm going to look at the bottom here. And I'm going to go with the outside 4 millimeter hole. That's where the screw is going to go through. And that will mate up there. No, it's over one, isn't it? Over one, I missed it. It is going to mate up with this one. There we go. Back over here. Swing around a little bit more. Okay, and a joint between this hole and zooming out right here, this hole. There we go. Now those rails are in place. Look like that. Let's look at the top down. Make sure that matches. Yep. Do those match up? Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 8 millimeter holes. Let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. It's all matching up nicely. Alright, so I'm going to bring in these screws. Our Tetrix parts down to the screws and nuts folder. I need 4 of the 1/2-inch socket head cap screw. There's one that actually looks like it's in a pretty good spot. Copy that, bring in 3 more. 1, 2, 3 more. Okay, and now the 0.3125 socket head cap screw. Bring in 4 of those. And then keep nuts. And I'll need 8 of these. See, how many do I have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one more. Okay. So the longer ones are going to go on the left-hand side as I'm facing the robot, and the shorter screws are on the right-hand side as I'm looking down on this robot. I am going to swing around that. That'll be easier to place these. I create my joint. I angle this just a little bit. There we go. All right. We've done this before, so I don't feel like I need to talk about it as much. Let me know if you do need help. Something isn't working the way you wanted it to. No. All right, those are all in place. Let me just verify that heads are touching the right spot. Oh, and I see one that's not quite right. Rigid number 5 for me. Edit that joint. Oh, it's this one that's not grabbed correctly. Pan over that. There we go. That looks right now. Okay, let's check the rest. They all look good. Alright, so now I've got to get under here and place those nuts. Let's see if I can see all of it at the same time. I don't think that's going to work for me. Nope, not working out. Alright, let's take a look at the nuts here. Alright, joint between this guy and rotating under, and I'll need to pan over. There we go. This one, flip that over. another joint between this nut and that one right there. Flip it over. Verify that's correct. Yep, looks good. Joint between this one and panning over and rotating underneath. There we go. And that ring right there. Flip it. Excellent. So I try to place these all in some sort of order so that if I do have to go back, it's easy to figure out which one follows another. If you do it more haphazardly, it can be harder to go back over things later, figure out where an error may have occurred. With 4 left, that means that I did not do mine sequentially. What did I miss? 2, 4, 5. I just started with too many. I should just have 2 left. Let's put this on and then we'll figure that out. I guess I got 2 left to put on. Oh, sorry, I just got one too many. Okay. Let me look at my... See if that's the extra one. It is. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So I just miscounted when I was creating those. There we go. So we put those 2 rails in. And now we're going to add a drive motor. So switching away from the manipulator for now. And we are going to add drive motors, which also help to cross brace the front of the robot, so that when we are finished with adding those, these motor mounts and these crossbars will really help strengthen this front end. You can see where we're going to add these. It's kind of a nice use of these rails. It lifts the motor's height up a little bit, which is fine because we can rotate the motor in there and play with the gears and make sure it meshes up. And then these screws will also become structural to the robot. So one of them is going to be a solid flat bar and the other one's an angled bar. And notice here how this piece is hanging off the edge. It's not symmetrical. We're going to fix that. We're going to pretend like we chopped this in a saw. and we cut it down so it does look nice. Now when we do that, it's very important that everyone breaks the link as soon as we import these bars in, that we break the link so that when we make the change, the change is made to our piece, but not to all the pieces. If we were to leave all of these pieces with unbroken links or linked, then when one of us makes a change, it happens to all of those pieces, including on these flat bars, the bars we've already used, right? Because those are still linked. So very important that we all break the link as we go on to this next step. So we're going to add these few things. We've got 2 motor mounts and the 4 bolts and nuts that go with them. A 288 millimeter flat bar, 288 millimeter angled bar, and a 2-inch standoff. Interesting, they don't have a, oh, they do have a 1.5 or a 1/2 inch screw there, they just don't mention it. So we'll have to add that. Okay, very good. And that is going to be near the center. We'll come back and check on that. Okay, so new component first thing. Drive motors. Yeah, make sure drive motors is the active component. We're going to bring in one 288 millimeter angle. And let's orient that into the correct position. 90. Oh, no, not quite done. We want it 90 this way as well. Bring that out so we can see it. There we go. Click OK, and then what we want to do is, you see how it has this chain here on the piece? That means that it is linked, and we want to break that link. So right click from the menu, then break the link. Break that link. Now we can go ahead and modify this piece. To modify it, I want to use my extrusion tool. I'm going to turn off everything else so our focus is here on this piece. Okay. I want to use the extrude tool, which you can also use to cut. And we just made another piece of plastic inside of it, so that's no good. There it goes. Yep, back 16 millimeters. We cut it. There it goes. Excellent. And then we'll have to do this again from this edge because it was rounded and all look nice. We want to also cut this way. Cut that off. Do the same thing from this edge. Cut. Drag that up. So we've cut off that piece. So now it looks just like it would coming off the saw, right? If you were in the shop here, put in our chop saw, the miter saw, chop that end off. That's going to give us a little cleaner look. That'll be nice. Remember, you've got to break that link first before you do it, though. All right, under flats, we're going to grab a flat bar, 288 millimeter, insert that into our current design. I'm going to rotate this around this direction and this direction. We need to do the same thing on this one, cutting off that end, 16 millimeters off the end. I'm going to zoom in here, use the extrude. Grab that. We want to cut No target. What? Oh, I didn't break it. Huh. Whoops. Yep. Let's break that first. Breaking my own rule. There we go. Take that end. We want to cut. Cutting back now. 16 millimeters. Okay. Grab this face. Extrude. Let's cut that way. Oh man, I just made a new part. Undo. Try this again. Cut. There we go. Extrude this face, change that to cut, and now we pull it through. There we go. So just like we got out the saw and cut those two down, now they'll look symmetrical. Did we have to do that? No, the robot would still function. It just looks a lot better, right? We didn't need those little end pieces. It'll look a lot better. All right, let's turn back on the chassis rail left and right. And make sure we get these in the correct spot. I'm gonna where exactly we want to place our motor. Looks like it's right in the middle. Yeah, top dead center, looks like to me. All right. So let's create a joint between this 4mm hole here and this 4mm hole here. And by using that cut end, I should verify that I cut off the right amount. If I pan over to the other side, the holes should line up here as well. And they do. Nice. That looks good. Say okay there. Go underneath this flat bar, joint tool, rigid joint between this 4mm hole and swiveling up, looking back down, top of that one right there. That looks good. Let's pan over, check the other side, and it too looks good. All right, let's bring in some motor mounts now. So our regular motor mounts, bring in one of those. And I'm going to orient this so that it's in the correct position. Which way do they have the opening? Looks like they have it to the front. I wonder if that's a functional choice or a style choice. Not sure. We got one of those in there. Let's bring in another. And let's join those together. Create a joint between this 4mm hole and swiveling back over to the top. This one here. There we go. Looks good. And another joint. Oh, there we go, that 4mm hole there, and this bar here. Good. All right, going back to the screws and nuts folder. Bring in the 1.5 inch screws. We're going to need 4 of these. turn it to the side this way so it's easier to grab and assemble from the angle I'm at now. We need 4 of them, so let's copy, paste, Control V to paste in another one, V to paste, not V, a 4th one. Alright, a joint between this and this. Flip that over. Joint between, not that, between that and that. Flip it over. Joint here. There we go. Flip it. And last one. And flip that as well. Okay. (180 degrees). Turn that around. Slide this down. So when I'm looking at it, I can easily put them in place. And now I'm going to copy and Control V or Command V to paste that in. And I'm going to avoid hitting the Command B button. There we go. And now I'm going to change my view. Trying to see those at the same time. Close. Okay, joint between this and this. Good. Joint. Oh, no, it's not zooming in that close yet. There we go. And there. Okay. And a joint between that and that. And a joint. Oh, joint. Come on, joint. There we go. There we go. And that. Selected one, selected. Where are you? Try this again. A joint between that ring on the keep nut and this 4mm hole here. There it goes. One thing is I noticed as I was putting on these nuts is how little threaded part of the screw is coming through this nut. You have to remember that this is really a clamp down on that motor, and there's lots of play. And so as we tighten this screw down, you will get more of that shaft protruding through that nut. So not to worry there. All right, we have got those in place. Let's check the instructions. What do we do next? We need to put in our 2-inch standoff. It's right in the middle of that flat bar. I will need a 1/2-inch socket head cap screw, so let's insert one of those before we leave this folder. Rotate that around so it's easier to get to. There we go. And back to the Tetrix parts folder. And I'm looking for these standoffs. There they are. 2-inch Tetric standoff. All right. Let's make a joint between this outer ring of the 2-inch standoff and looking at the top-down view, but rotated. There we go. Pan up a bit. And we want it in the middle, so let's see, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 of the 4mm holes showing, so 7 from an edge. And number 8 will be the middle. There we go. So we want it right there. And we'll flip it over. Okay. Check that. Looks good. Okay. Take the shaft of that screw and insert it to the underside. Right here. There we go. And flip it over. Nice. Good. Let's turn back on our other parts, and I'm going to hide the joints on that now. It's starting to come together. It's looking like a real robot.